Okay, hello, good morning. It is currently 7:30 a.m. I don't know why I had the urge to film a video at this time, but I was talking about this with one of my friends because we have a huge time zone difference right now. So we were sending voice messages and I was like, you know what? I want to share this with you guys as well because there has been one mindset shift that has genuinely changed my life in the last few months, especially in these last few weeks. And I feel like now that I am thinking this certain way, I just perceive life in a completely different way. And I see myself more as like the creator of my own situations and circumstances rather than kind of the observer of like, okay, this is gonna happen to me but I have no control over it. And I just wanted to share because it's something really simple that can, you know, affect your life in a bigger way. And I want to give you examples as well because even just over the last 2 weeks there has been a lot. So the one sentence that changed my life is the way we perceive anything is the way that we create it. This sounds like a really simple sentence, but honestly it has a lot of power in it, and I think a lot of people may agree initially but they're not aware that actually in their life they're not incorporating that belief. So a lot of people will label themselves as shy, lazy, unfocused, and then when they show up in that manner they get surprised and, you know, they feel like a failure. They feel like they're not showing up to their highest potential, but they still label themselves as such. So I feel like this shows up two ways in life. First of all, it happens in like real life situations that get brought to you based on how you believe life is. That's first of all. And second of all, the way you show up in the world also heavily relies on your perception of yourself. So the first example is the way you perceive the world is the way that you're gonna create your own reality in that world. So for example, this is a very random example, but this happened to me last week, and after it happened I was just like, this is such a good clear example of how your perception kind of controls most of the time what happens to you. Well, I would believe all the time, but I feel like that's a big statement, so for now we'll go with most of the time. I just recently moved to Bali, and since I've been living in Bali I've been driving my own motorcycle, well, scooter, a moped, whatever, and I personally have never had the perception that riding a motorbike is dangerous. I know that statistically speaking a motorbike is a lot more dangerous than driving a car or flying on a plane or any of that, but I have never really perceived it to be that dangerous. It has never really scared me. I always, you know, imagine myself driving a motorbike. It's always been kind of a dream of mine, and I never perceived it to be something dangerous, even though, you know, some people could look at it and be like, I would never, like, there's no seatbelt, you can just fly off, like any of those type of things, but I never perceived it that way. So when I came to Bali and I had my own motorbike, it really didn't scare me driving around at all. I never really thought about all the, you know, bad things that could happen. And then last week I didn't see an accident happen, but I saw an ambulance driving in front of me and I was driving behind them because I was trying to get to where I was going, and I ended up seeing the accident scene, which, to be honest, I don't even know what happened. I don't even know if it was a motorbike accident. Honestly, I have no idea. All I saw is a person laying on the ground, 10 people around them, and the person obviously unconscious, not moving, and I'm pretty sure they are fine. I really hope they are. But when I was sitting in the restaurant after eating my dinner, all I could see myself thinking about was the fact that anything can go wrong driving on a motorbike. And I just got lost in this thought that even if you're a good driver, even if you know everything is fine, anything can go wrong. And honestly, in that moment I was aware that I was lost in that thought, because I was even talking about it with my friend. I was like, I cannot stop thinking about it. I cannot let this go. Like, I never was worried about driving a motorbike, but seeing that in real life, even though I don't even know if that was a motorbike accident, it kind of like took me out of what I used to believe about motorbikes, that they were safe and that, you know, everything's gonna be fine. And I kind of saw this other side of it, and now like I feel like anything can go wrong at any moment. Surprise, surprise, that day I kind of hurt my foot. It's all good now. I didn't like break it. It's genuinely not that serious, but out of a month of driving my motorbike many times a day, nothing has ever even come close to happening. And that day, after I was sitting in that restaurant thinking about how anything can go wrong, one small thing went wrong and I really hurt my foot. It's honestly fine. It's just really bruised, my toe, but it's honestly okay. And that's the first way that you kind of create what you perceive. So if you have a certain belief in the world, you will make it happen. And I don't just mean like law of attraction or whatever. I mean literally by being hyper aware of those thoughts and those little things that can go wrong, you will create that reality for yourself. Also, the times where I was the most in my thoughts about how awkward I was and how socially anxious I used to be, those were the times where really awkward situations would also happen to me. And I feel like I have just personally seen in my life that whatever I perceive is the situations that I get given. That's first of all. And then the second way in which it shows up in my life a lot is my perception of myself is exactly how I'm going to be. So if I perceive myself as someone lazy, I am going to be lazy. If I perceive myself as someone who's easily distracted, because that's just who I am, that's exactly how I'm going to be. So I feel like this is the biggest problem area for a lot of people. They label themselves as certain ways. Like, for example, a lot of people have things in life that they want to do, and they will say to themselves like, oh, but I can't do that. Like, I'm just shy. I'm just a really socially anxious person. I could never do that. And by saying that, by thinking that, they are putting themselves in that box, and they're never giving themselves the actual possibility of actually going outside of it. And this is also where the statement fake it till you make it comes in. I just wanted to mention that statement because on one level I really agree with it, and on one level I don't, because, well, the whole point that they're saying fake it till you make it, you don't have to fake it till you make it. You can just become it, and the actions will follow. So in order to be the person you want to be, you have to perceive yourself as that person. So when I was shy, like I said, I would always label myself as shy, so I didn't give myself the space to actually do the actions that a non-shy person would do. So for example, my highest version of myself, like my non-shy person, would be okay with, you know, just going to a dance class and making friends. But because I labeled myself as shy, I was like, well, I'm not ready for it right now. I'm still shy. Like, when I work it through, I'll go. But are you ever gonna work it through if you continue calling yourself shy forever? So I feel like a lot of people are stuck in that, and that's what I would be stuck in as well. And the thing is, a lot of people think, well, it's not my fault that thought comes up. Like, that's just how I am. And I think this is where the mindset shift specifically clicked for me. Is I realized that a lot of these thoughts come up naturally. Like, it will be very often that, you know, you want to do something and you're going to be like, I don't know if I'm confident enough for that. The choice then that you make is what sets you apart from a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Okay, a thought comes up, I'm shy, I'm too scared to go do that thing, I'm too shy. But then it's your choice. Do you want to grow from that and be like, no, I don't choose my first thought, but I choose my second thought? Do you want to change your thought and change your perception of yourself? Or do you want to just follow with what was given to you? Because what's going to be given to you is not always going to be the thing that you want to hear, right? Like, our brain goes through like a million thoughts every single day. Of course, you're going to have some thoughts that you know, don't align with the person that you want to be. So even an example of this, to be honest, this happened yesterday, literally an example from yesterday. I was at the spa and I was just chilling, you know, I watched the sunset, I was just chilling, I was swimming, and I saw that in the kind of spa behind me, in the room behind me, they were holding this contact dance, which I don't really know how to describe contact dance. Maybe I'll put in a video, but for anyone that knows, ecstatic dance is kind of where, you know, you dance however you want to dance, and a lot of people see it as very weird, and a lot of people would see it as very, you know, you have to be confident in order to do it, because when you're doing it, you're being your weirdest self, you're looking people in the eyes, you're even like touching people, you're dancing with people, and for a lot of people that type of thing would really put them out of their comfort zone. And even though I have grown so much in the last few months, when I looked at this initially, I was like, oh my god, I really wish I could do that. But like right now, if I had to be there right now, I don't think I could. Like, I think I would be awkward. And I caught that thought and I was like, wait, we perceive as we create. If I'm saying I'm gonna be awkward, then I'm not ready for that. So when that thought came up, I observed it, I let it be. I did not judge the thought. Like, you receiving that thought does not mean that you didn't fully heal yourself, and there's more things to work through. If you believe that you always have something to work through, you will always have something to work through. It is normal that a thought like that comes up. The main thing is how you react to it. If you just observe it and then make a choice to think a different thought, that is a growth mindset. Whereas if you think it and just be like, well, that's just who I am, like, I wouldn't think that thought if I was truly confident. You can think any type of thought, honestly. Like, the worst thoughts can come up sometimes, and that is completely fine. So it's about the choice you make about that thought. So please remember that you don't have the choice over your first thought, but you do have the choice over the second thought, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, and so on. So yeah, I was laying there just thinking about how, you know, I am ready for that, and if I had the opportunity to go take a class, I would take a class. And I was even thinking maybe I'll go next week, because I was already, or I was obviously already missing this class. And after like 30 minutes, I was sitting with my friend, and this guy comes up to her and he's like, oh, I'm actually the leader of the class going on right now. He initially saw my friend sitting in the room next to where they were doing it, and he thought that she was staying at the spa, so he invited her, but obviously I was with her, so he invited both of us. So first of all, I really believe that I kind of created that situation for myself, because honestly, a lot of coincidences had to happen. Like, he specifically came up to my friend because she was sitting in the room next to them where, you know, she was having a call, and, you know, in that moment I could have not been with her. You know, he could have not seen her. Like, a lot of things had to happen in coincidence for him to come up and offer for us to like go to the class. But second of all, when he came up, I didn't feel any like negative, scared thoughts anymore about going to that dance. Like, I said to him straight up, oh my god, yes, we'll go next week, because we already kind of missed miss this session. And in that moment, I saw that I was actively creating how I want it to be, because 30 minutes before I could have said like, no, I'm not ready for this, I'm too shy. And then when he came up to my friend, I could have just been kind of like mentally dismissing him in the background. Obviously I would have, you know, showed up and been like, thank you so much for offering, blah blah blah, but mentally I could have been dismissing him and being like, as if like I'm not ready for that. But when he came up, I, you know, because I already made that choice that I am not scared of that I am not too shy for it, and that I'm ready for that type of thing, when he came up, the actions followed. So it's always mindset first, always, always, always. And I know that sounds a lot easier said than done, but it really is a lot of the time. A lot of the time you have to just consciously make the decision that that is not what you want to perceive yourself as. Because a lot of the time, actually, what gives us social anxiety and what makes us the most problems in our life is the uncertainty behind them. So for example, what makes you nervous about talking in front of 100 people? It's the fact that you might mess up. It's the fact that maybe somebody's gonna think that what you're saying is stupid. It's the what if, it's the uncertainty, it's the questions, it's the like not knowing of what's behind this. And the more clarity you can give yourself, the less scary that situation is gonna be. So when you're saying, what if I'm awkward? What if I don't know what to say? What if I forget my words? What if this person thinks I'm stupid? What if this person thinks I'm uninteresting? What if this person wants to leave? When you focus on the what ifs, that's when the social anxiety appears. But when you give yourself the certainty of it's gonna go how it's supposed to go, I'm not shy. Somebody might find it uninteresting, but I find this interesting. I have the space to talk. I was given the opportunity, and it's gonna go how it's meant to go. When you give yourself that certainty and you choose the perception of, you know, how you want it to go, most of the time, majority of the stress goes away, if not all. Another example with this actually is, I never really talk about this on my channel, but I have not ever properly dated. Like, I had a boyfriend back in high school, but that was not serious. That was like, you know, when you're 14, 15, it's like, I have a boyfriend. But up until 2 weeks ago, I had never gone on a date, which is completely normal, but it was just kind of like, I really wanted to step into that area of my life of like the more romantic relationships, but I was too scared. I was like, I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. I'm working on myself right now. That is, you know, something that scares me right now. And even in moments where I thought, oh my god, I worked through everything, I'm finally the confident person I always wanted to be, I still had the perception of myself as an awkward dater. And I always just thought that if I go on a date, I'm gonna be really awkward, because in that situation, how am I gonna be flirty? How am I gonna like tell if the person likes me? How, like, what if I don't know what to say? What if it's awkward? What if like they want to leave? I don't know. What if I'm really uninteresting? What if they think I'm ugly? What if they think I'm stupid? All the what ifs kind of made me perceive myself as a shy person who's not ready for dating. And I was having this conversation with my friend, and she was like, look, we're on the same page. She was like, look, you want to have that experience in your life, and you want to kind of open up that sphere of your life. You want to go into it and explore it. So you just got to do it. After we talked about that, I was like, okay, the way I perceive myself is the way I show up, is the way I create the world around me. So I'm gonna do that. I started telling myself that I am not too shy to go on a date. I'm not too awkward. I don't have to think about whether this other person's gonna like me. I just have to focus on myself. And you honestly literally just have to sit down for 5 minutes and close your eyes and think about it. And then in the future, when a thought comes up and you get nervous, you have to reaffirm your own beliefs. So it's not like an affirmation. It's not like I am strong, I am confident. It's not like that, because I feel like sometimes affirmations can even go into the unhealthy side of things, where it's kind of affirming to yourself that you are something, but it kind of just highlights to you something you are not. I think there's a line to be drawn where affirmations can be very good and affirmations can be unhealthy. So there's kind of a differentiation in that, but that's for another day. But I think it's more that when a thought comes up where you notice like, look, oh, I'm nervous, I have a date tomorrow, and you kind of bring yourself back to the moment, you observe the thought and you're like, okay, no, like I am conscious this thought came up right now, and I choose right now if I'm going to continue believing that thought and continue letting that scenario play out in my head, and then just, you know, having more and more awkward situations happen to me, or if I'm going to choose to be like, you know what, I literally choose. Every day I wake up and it's like a game. I choose who I want to be, what character I want to be that day. And then by doing that, certain actions will follow. So I had a date about a week ago, and a few times before the date, so a few days before, when I already knew it was happening and, you know, I was kind of waiting for it to happen, I had a few moments where I would get really nervous and I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know, like maybe I should cancel, like I don't know, like I'm kind of getting nervous. And anytime that thought came up, I reminded myself that I am not shy to go on a date. I'm not awkward. I'm, you know, I don't have the fear that I'm going to be uninteresting for that person. And I just labeled myself as someone who is ready to date. And that's how I perceive myself. And when the day of the date came, I was not nervous at all. And it wasn't even like a fake, like, I promise I'm not nervous. Like, I'm not, like, genuinely, I woke up and I felt so neutral. I was like, I'm about to go have like a fun day. We're going to go to the beach. We're going to explore that place. And like, I'm going to meet a new person. Like, I can't wait. And it was mind blowing to me because that was something I feared for freaking years. And I had opportunities to go on dates and like meet people and, you know, explore that little sphere of my life, but I didn't because I always labeled myself as someone who's not ready for that and who's too scared of that. And it took me like 3 days to create a complete new version of myself where I was like, that doesn't scare me. And literally also that same day, somebody asked me out on a date in real life, which has never happened to me. Like that same day. Please tell me that your perceptions don't create your reality. Honestly, when that thought comes up, you need to realize that you have control over yourself and that you fully just create who you are. Every second of the day, every single moment of the day is a moment of creation. If you don't like what you created an hour ago, that is fine. But an hour ago is not right now. There only exists now, right? So you have the moment right now to create who you want to be. Like truly, the secret to having it all is knowing that you already do. It's perceiving that you already do. And it creates that reality. And also your desire is just like a little glimpse into the potential future. So you just need to accept your desires and accept who you want to be and perceive yourself as such and perceive the world as such, and it will happen. It will follow. So yeah, that is it. I really hope that was useful for someone. I just feel like recently for me, it has completely changed my life. Like I feel like it comes up so many times in the day, and a lot of you guys see how I've changed a lot recently as well. And honestly, that mindset is one of the biggest like daily things that I do, that I just like catch myself out whenever I see a certain perception of someone or something or myself, and I just change it to the way I want it to be. I'm glad I got to share this with you guys today. I hope it helps. Sending love.